The number two function of management is organizing, presented by Wilma Bastillo, Kay Cesa, Mona Lisa Gaas, Martes Nicodam, Janina Pialago. After laying down the plans and objectives, the next function to be performed by the managers is organizing. It determines what activities and resources are required and decides who will do a particular task, where it will be done, and when it will be done. Thus, organizing means establishing a relationship between various factors of production, and it is concerned with establishing relationship amongst jobs, sections, departments, and positions. What is organizing? Organizing can be defined as identifying and grouping different activities in the organization and bringing together the physical, financial, and human resources to establish most productive relations for the achievement of a specific goal of organization. When the managers are performing organizing function, it results in creation of an organizational structure which shapes a system of working. An organizational structure is simply the pattern of division of the roles and responsibilities of the employees in the organization. Thus, the organizational structure explains the role and tasks each employee has to perform. It also depicts the hierarchy in which members of an organization rank themselves. Organizational structure determines how the roles, power, and responsibilities are assigned, controlled, and coordinated, and how information flows between the different levels of management. Organizational structure is a formal network of reporting or controlling relationships in an organization and powers and duties associated with each role in this network. Tall organizational structure is a management structure characterized by an overall narrow span of management and a relatively large number of hierarchical levels. And lastly, flat organizational structure is a management structure characterized by a wide span of control and relatively few hierarchical levels. It facilitates delegation of functions or tasks.
Nature of organization. Number one, group of persons. An organization is fundamentally a group of individuals who came together to work towards a shared objective or goal. It could be a small team of a few people or a large company with thousands of employees. This group is not just a collection of individuals, but a system of cooperative relationships. In other words, the members interact and collaborate, often performing different tasks and contribute to a common purpose. For an organization to function effectively, cooperation among its members is essential. Each person has specific roles or duties, and the success of the organization depends on how well this individual works together. For example, in a business or in the organization, it could consist of employees, managers, and executives who collaborate to achieve the company's goals, such as providing a product or service to customers. The employees may perform different tasks, but their collective efforts drive to success of the business. Number two, common objectives. Every organization exists for a common goal that is shared by its all members. This common objective is distinct from the individual or personal objectives of the members. This organization's success relies on everyone working toward this goal, which serves as the foundation for cooperation among the group. These objectives are typically clearly defined and communicated to ensure everyone understands the purpose and direction of the organization. For example, in a school, the common objective is to educate students, while teacher, staff, and administration may have their personal goals. Their collective focus on the student's success. Number three, division of work. An organization divides the total work or task among its members. This is important because one person cannot handle everything on their own. Division of work allows for the specialization where each member focuses on a specific role based on their skills and expertise. This increases efficiency and effectiveness as specialized tasks are completed faster and better. For example, in a hospital, doctors, nurses, and administrative staff have distinct roles, contributing their specialized knowledge and skills to the patient care. Number four, cooperative efforts. Members of an organization work together and support one another to achieve the organization's goal. Cooperation happens in two ways: vertically between supervisors and subordinates, and horizontally among peers at the same level. The success of the organization depends on the willingness of the members to coordinate their effort and collaborate. For example, in a marketing department, a manager may guide the team vertical cooperation, while team members together on a creative task horizontally cooperation. Number 5, communication. Communication is the key in an organization because it allows people to share information, coordinate tasks, and work together. The organization must have a structure that facilitates communicate so that members can collaborate effectively and ensure that goals are achieved. Clear, effective communication is essential for coordination and integration of efforts across different units. For example, in a project team, regular meeting and updates ensure that everyone is aligned and understands their responsibilities. Number 6, central authority. In every organization, there is a central authority that directs and coordinates the effort of the members. This authority is responsible for making decisions, giving instruction, and ensuring that the organization functions smoothly. The relationship between authority and responsibility is organized in a chain of command, where instructions flow from higher levels of authority to the lower levels. For example, in a corporate structure, the CEO holds the central authority and provides strategic direction to managers who then guide their teams. Number 7, rules and regulations. Organizations establish a set of rules and regulations to guide the behavior and work of their members. These rules ensures that the organization functions in an orderly and systematic manner, with everyone knowing their roles, responsibilities, and acceptable conduct. The central authority enforces these rules to maintain structure and discipline within the organization. For example, in a government agency, there are formal rules about how employees should handle public service requests and adhere to policies. Together, this characteristic from the foundation of any effective organization, ensuring that people work together in a coordinated, efficient, and structured manner toward common goals. And lastly, number 8, the dynamic element. This concept emphasizes that an organization is not just a mechanical structure with rigid rules and roles, but a living, evolving system made up of people. Here's a breakdown of what it means. Not a mechanical structure. An organization isn't just about the hierarchy, processes, or physical infrastructure. While those things are important, they alone don't make the organization function effectively. A living organism. The organization thrives and evolves based on the sentiments, attitude, and behavior of its member. In this sense, the dynamic and constantly changing, much like a living being that grows, adapts, and responds to its environment. People as a vital element. People are the core of an organization. Their collective emotion, motivation, and behavior give the organization its vitality and life. Without engaging and cooperative individuals, even the most well-designed structure would fail. Example, in a startup, while the organizational structure is important, it's the enthusiasm, creativity, and collaborative spirit of the employee that drive innovation and growth. If people's attitude shifts or morale drop, the organization may struggle to perform, reflecting the dynamic nature of human influence. In essence, this dynamic element acknowledges that an organization is more than its structure. It's a human-centered entity that is shaped and sustained by the people within it.
Process of organizing. First, identification and division of work. Second, departmentalization. Third, assignment of duties. Lastly, establishing reporting relationship. Process of organizing. Identification and division of work. It involves identification and division of total work to be done into specific activities called jobs, in accordance with previously determined plans. By dividing the work, the burden of work can be shared among the employees. It facilitates specialization of work and skills. Duplication of work can be avoided by dividing the work into manageable activities. Second, departmentalization. The second step is to combine or group similar or related jobs into larger units called departments, divisions, or sections. The departmentation or grouping of jobs can be done in two ways. A. Functional departmentation. Under this method, jobs related to common functions are grouped under one department. B. Divisional departmentation. This method is prepared when an organization is producing more than one type of product, called jobs, related to one product are grouped under one department. Process of organizing. Assignment of duties. Once department have been formed, each of them is placed under the charge of an individual called departmental head. Production manager, finance manager, etc. Jobs are then allocated to the members of each department according to their skills and qualification. Employees are giving them a document called job description. It clearly defines the contents and responsibilities related to the job. Lastly, establishing reporting relationships. Merely allocating work is not enough. Each individual should also know from whom he has to take orders and to whom he is accountable. It helps in coordination amongst various departments. Here, all the individuals are assigned some authority matching to the job they have to perform. This results in creation of superior-subordinate relationships. The individual of higher authority becomes the superior and with less authority becomes the subordinate.
Importance of organizing. Organizing is one of the key functions of management, and its importance cannot be overstated. It provides a structured framework that allows for the efficient coordination of resources and activities within organization. Here are the specific reasons why organizing is crucial in management. First, rule quality and task allocation. Second, ensures proper staffing levels. Third, facilitates efficient workflow. Fourth, coordination between teams. Fifth, ensures compliance with healthcare regulations. Sixth, enables continuous monitoring and quality improvement. Seventh, efficient resource management. Eighth, supports professional development and training. Ninth, improves communication and information flow. 10th, enhances patient-centered care. 11th, crisis management and emergency preparedness. First, rule priority and task allocation. For example, in a hospital surgical ward, organizing helps assign specific roles to nursing staff, such as charge nurses, scrub nurses, and circulating nurses. For instance, the charge nurse is responsible for overseeing the ward and managing the staff, while the scrub nurses assist surgeons directly during operations. Without proper organization, multiple nurses might assume to the same role or key tasks like post-patient monitoring could be missed, jeopardizing patient safety. Second, ensures proper staffing levels. Organizing in the nursing department includes creating staffing schedules based on patient load and nurse-to-patient ratios. For example, in an ICU, the nurse-to-patient ratio might need to be 1:2. Proper organization ensures that shifts are staffed according to these requirements, avoiding understaffing or overstaffing. If not organized correctly, critical care units may become overwhelmed with too few nurses, leading to compromised patient care. Third, facilitates efficient workflow. In an emergency department, organizing helps streamline the workflow by designating triage nurses to assess incoming patients, floor nurses to provide treatment, and discharge nurses to handle patients leaving the hospital. If workflow isn't properly organized, triage can become bottleneck, leading to delayed care for critical patients. A well-organized nursing department ensures that each stage of patient care is handled efficiently, reducing waiting times and improving outcomes. Fourth, coordination between teams. In a hospital setting, organizing ensures that nursing staff collaborate effectively with other departments like pharmacy, radiology, and laboratory services. For instance, nurses on a medical surgical floor must coordinate with the pharmacy department to ensure timely administration of medications. Without proper organization, medication orders could be delayed or lost, affecting patient recovery and outcomes. Fifth, ensures compliance with healthcare regulations. Nursing departments are often responsible for adhering to strict healthcare regulations such as patient documentation, infection control protocols, and medication administration standards. By organizing the department into special teams or roles, such as nurse in charge or infection control, it becomes easier to comply with these regulations. If a hospital does not organize these responsibilities properly, it risks non-compliance with regulatory bodies, which could result in fines, accreditation issues, or patient safety concerns. 6. Enables continuous monitoring and quality improvement. In the nursing department, organizing can lead to the creation of quality improvement committees. For instance, a committee might be tasked with monitoring patient outcomes, reducing the incidence of hospital-acquired infections, or ensuring adherence to safety protocols. Without organizing this structure, important initiatives may go unaddressed, leading to a decline in patient care quality and increased risk. Seventh, efficient resource management. In maternity ward, organizing the management of medical supplies such as sterile gloves, syringes, and infant care equipment is critical. Proper organization ensures that the ward is adequately stocked and supplies are replenished in a timely manner. If not organized well, nurses may find themselves without necessary supplies during crucial moments, such as during a delivery, which could endanger both the mother and the baby. 8. Supports professional development and training. In a nursing department, organizing regular training and development programs ensures that staff remain updated on the latest healthcare practices such as new protocols for infection control or advancements in patient care technology. Organizing these programs ensures that nurses have set times for continuing education without disrupting patient care. If training isn't well organized, nurses may miss out on crucial professional development, which will lead to outdated practices being used in patient care. 9. Improve communication and information flow. In a large nursing department, organizing regular handovers between shifts ensures smooth communication. For example, organizing formalized process for shift handovers allows outgoing nurses to share critical patient information such as changes in condition or updates on care plans with incoming staff. If these handovers are not organized properly, important details may be missed, resulting in miscommunication and potential harm to patients. 10. Enhances patient-centered care. By organizing patient care teams, such as assigning specific nurses to a group of patients, the nursing department can ensure continuity of care. For instance, in a long-term care facility, organizing nurses into patient-centered teams allows them to build rapport and trust with the same group of patients over time. If not organized, patients may feel like they are receiving fragmented care from different nurses, which can lead to dissatisfaction and a decrease in the overall quality of care. Lastly, crisis management and emergency preparedness. Organizing a clear response plan for emergencies such as mass casualty event or a pandemic is crucial for nursing departments. For instance, during the COVID-19 pandemic, hospitals with well-organized nursing teams were able to quickly redeploy staff, manage bed capacity, and coordinate patient care across departments. Without proper organization, managing a sudden surge in patients could result in charts, delayed treatments, and higher mortality rates. In conclusion, organizing within the nursing department is vital to ensuring that the hospital runs smoothly, patients receive high quality care, and staff perform their duties effectively. It enables clear role definition, proper resource allocation, smooth communication, and better crisis management, all of which are essential for patient safety and staff well-being. In short, organizing is the bridge between the planning and directing, the planning activities and the fulfillment of goals. It must be able to integrate, coordinate, and synergize the foregoing factors to effectively create the bridge between two functions, planning and directing. And that's all. Thank you for listening.